Welcome to IHIP News, where we report our opinion on the news that is important to us. And what is incredibly important to us right now is the trial of Donald Trump. It is Pump's number one obsession.
Yep.
She spends all of her time monitoring every single thing that goes on. But we have a treat in store for our viewers today.
And for me, because I'm so excited.
We have a juror that was called to New York, to the courthouse, and excused himself because he said that he could not be impartial. Let's welcome to IHIP News, William. William, how are you today?
Good. How are you?
I am so good. I have so many questions, of course.
So walk us through briefly the process. You receive the jury summons in the mail, and did you immediately think, what outfit am I going to wear?
Well, actually, I have never done jury duty before. I was like, okay, I have jury duty. The Trump trial is going on, but like, this is totally not going to be connected to that. Like, it's going to be something like going to the DMV, just like, so I wore a very normal outfit the first day. I mean, normal for me. I'm sure people would think otherwise, but I just went through security on Tuesday, went to the information desk and was like, I'm in room 400. Is that on the fourth floor? At the same time of people being like, where's the Trump trial? Where's the Trump trial? Like crazy. Like people are insane. And they brought us up to the 15th floor, in which we like immediately went through Secret Service security. Like I could tell it was guys in black suits with like the earpieces in. And it was a lot more serious than the lobby security at the courthouse. And then we get brought into a court, and it is the court that Donald Trump and his defense team and the prosecutors and Judge Mershaw and like everyone is in. And for some reason, the part of the group that I was in, they brought me to the actual juror seats next to the prosecution table. Pumps, help me if I need.
Yeah, jury box.
So I was like, kind of right to his right, just looking right at him that day. And the judge was like, you're here for the case of the state of New York versus Donald J. Trump.
Oh my God.
The day is about to end, so we have to swear you in. So like, you can't talk to anyone about this except for your employer or your spouse or whatever. And they swore us in and then released us and said, come back to Thursday at 8:30. So that is when everything started of like, what am I going to wear for this? My husband was out of town. I'm like, can I borrow your Fendi bag? Like,
So when you see him for the first time, what is going through your mind? Is it surreal? Are you just, what is going on? Because I would die. I would be so into it.
So into it.
It's so insane. And they really just don't let you know until you're in that courtroom. I mean, once again, this is the first time I did jury duty and like was a part of a selection process. So like, you really don't know until you see him. And where we got brought in is like where he does those interviews at the end of the day, every day, and,
right.
Violates his gag order.
And just lies. But that's here and there.
So starting in court on Thursday, the judge introduces the prosecution and the defense team. The prosecution stands up, turns around, greets us, good morning. Everyone says good morning back. And then the defense team gets introduced and they stand up, and Trump will not stand up or look at anyone when they're introducing.
That is such a violation. You always stand up for the jury. You stand up when you speak to the jury. I have never heard of anybody not standing up and honoring the jury. Even the judge stands up when the jury enters the room.
Yeah.
He's a piece of shit.
It felt significant. Like his lawyer was trying to like kind of pull him up, and he was like that kind of. It's interesting to hear that because it felt significant.
Did he ever start scanning the jury box and making eye contact with any of you?
So for sure, both days. So the second day, I was like 2 rows behind him, which means that I got to see some of the like hair engineering from behind, which was interesting. So outside of him kind of not saying good morning to us, he was very much so scanning all of us after that.
Was it a scan or a glare?
A little bit of both, maybe. I'll get to the
Okay,
glare
sorry.
portion once I dismiss myself, because that was definitely a glare. Um, so then the judge went through the case for about 30 minutes, like just kind of a cliff notes. This is what you're here for. These are who all the witnesses are going to be, which was really interesting. There was a list of like 30 people. Um, I don't really know if I can say any of that, but like all of his kids were on it. Milani was on it. Steve Bannon, like the whole shebang. Um, and then the judge was like, this is not necessarily precedent, but I want to make space for anyone that wants to like self-dismiss before we go into any line of questioning. So if you would like to be dismissed, please raise your hand individually, stand up, read your juror number, and say, I would please like to be dismissed. So like one by one, we all have to stand up in front of him and dismiss ourselves, which was like crazy. I don't really get very nervous, but I was like, holy shit, I need to read this juror number right, because I like am not coming back here. Like,
So what happened when you stood up and you read your jury number? Can he see your face when you do this?
so by that point, he's fully turned around in his chair, just staring at everyone. So I raise my hand and stand up in the outfit that you guys saw.
Which was great.
And he's glaring, thank you. He's glaring at me, and I'm just serving full RBF back to him, like looking at him straight in the eye. Juror B632, I would please like to be dismissed. And then I like kind of,
Oh, I did a little
Sashayed.
sachet Shantae out of the courtroom.
yeah. I mean, I'm sure if I went up to that juror table to be questioned, he would have used one of his Monopoly cards on me immediately. But
All right, please describe what he looks like in person and any observations that you have that the pettier the better, William.
okay. So as described earlier, definitely 6'1", not a millimeter over.
Okay.
For sure. Can confirm.
Okay.
I did the math with my cowboy boots too. Just as orange as you would think, but the eyes are like like Kim Kardashian 2016, like powdered out. His hair is it's like white with just like a dashing of Just for Men, like peach color. Pumps, you called out that he hadn't gotten his roots done, but I think he does it himself. Like, there's no way.
There's no way you would pay for that hair color.
Yeah, or the spray tan. Like, he does not have any gay people in his life. It's so sad. The suit. Okay, so sitting behind him on day 2, I got to see, like, really kind of look at the suit. Horrible fitting. Like, the main lawyer and the secondary person beside him, like, were beating his ass in the suit game. Like, it fit horribly, wrinkled, like, not on the right hanger when it's being in the closet, like that kind of stuff looked horrible.
Did you notice any supporters of the former president outside the courtroom when you arrived?
Absolutely not.
Interesting.
And I think our friends, the good liars,
Yes.
covered that pretty well yesterday.
So let's discuss. Nobody's outside. He's not 6'3", terrible hair job, terrible hair engineering, horrible outfits, horribly fitting suits to where the attorneys are dressed a million times better than this alleged billionaire, and not a person,
Yes.
not one person in the crowd.
Not one person. And the streets, I'm assuming, were not blocked off, not allowing his supporters in.
So no, none of the streets or anything. The sidewalk immediately in front of the court, you had to show, like, I had to show this, my like juror ID, or like the lawyers have passes to go into that building. But like absolutely nothing more than that. Like when I left after I was dismissed, like maybe 7 or 8 reporters were like, "Were you a juror? Were you a juror?" And I had this just like big Gucci glasses on, just like walked right past them. But yeah, like that's just a total fucking crapshoot. Everything that he's saying about that.
It's just lies. Okay, so let me talk about the
Yeah.
hair engineering. It appears from the back there's quite a bald spot and kind of a feather in Talk about that.
So he absolutely has like the stereotypical this shape, totally gone.
Totally bald.
And then there's like a swoopy swoop over that. But there's a hole here that is like, you're not fooling anyone. Like that, like we're seeing that, especially now that you're like totally grayed out. That was crazy. I mean, it just looks like someone that's like washed their hair with Dawn soap for 20 years too.
Wow. So on top of everything, bad use of products.
Let me just tell you this. Stormy Daniels said when she was in his bathroom in the hotel room, she was surprised because he used Pert shampoo. Fucking Pert.
I don't even know what that is.
It's like a 2-in-1. It's green. It comes straight from the dollar
It's
store.
from the 80s,
Yeah.
70s. It was popular back then. And
I'm like a stereotypical gay relationship. I'm a gay fashion designer. My husband is a gay hairstylist. So we're like an Orbe household. I don't know what these
Right.
things are. But like,
Let me ask you this. Did you ever see him standing up?
only the one time when we walked in on the first day, which is how I got the height.
Okay. Did you notice any in his pants, any kind of diaper outline?
No, but I was also pretty fucking shocked walking into that room. I have to say, like, I'm
Right.
proud of the observations that I made in and of itself. But
Yeah.
like, I mean, the suit was so big, like not even in like the row way that like I don't even know if I would have seen a diaper. Like, it's a great suit for a diaper.
Maybe that's what I was going to say. Maybe the suit's so big to hide the diaper. Okay, let me ask you this.
Yeah.
One thing I have noticed with these close-ups from this trial is the runaway eyebrows. Were you able to get a look at those?
Absolutely. I mean, it's so funny seeing the photos that have come out at the beginning of each day versus like what he looked like in person because he did the same thing in the mugshot, like smug, tough, like balls hanging off the back of the truck vibes. And in person, he was like this. But like pissy at moments too, like not tough, like it's ridiculous.
Was it surreal? Because I feel like, if you've been alive the last 8, 10 years, Donald Trump, there's not one day that's probably gone by in people's lives where you haven't seen or heard something to do with the fuckery that he creates. And so he's just
Yeah.
like this evil character that, is just always around that nobody can get rid of. And then you walk into this courtroom and you're there with this guy who's just fucked everything up beyond repair. Was that surreal?
Yes, like I felt very, very overstimulated that whole week. Like, I don't know, it just felt so significant. Like, it really, I mean, I hate to use this word with him, but like, this is how it felt in the moment. It really kind of like humanized him of like,
Right.
oh, this is just like kind of this frail, weird guy in this room. And we're like involved in this. And yeah, the court was like, not very well kept, like could have used 10 Swiffers. Just seeing him in that context was crazy. I mean, on Wednesday in between, I was like, okay, I like this is crazy, but this situation has given me a lot of respect for like serving your civic duty and like all the people that work to make that a system that works.
And you bring up a
I
good
was like,
point.
can I be objective about this? And I was like, no,
No.
like this is just too much.
You bring up a good point about him being humanized. And I think it is important. He is a person that made a shit ton of mistakes and broke the law. And so I think that his supporters need to humanize him and realize that this is a very flawed man, an incredibly dangerous man who has committed a shit ton of crimes and who thinks the rules that apply to everybody else don't apply to him. But our last question to you, William, is why did you bow out of the jury duty?
I thought about how it felt to be in that room, and my overwhelming feeling was this person is such a criminal, and it's so clear to me now. And that was my main thing. Because, like I said, I thought about it on Wednesday and I'm like, well, can I be objective about this? And like that was an overwhelming feeling within the jury and like the people that I talked to is like there's a lot of respect to what you have to do as a juror. And like everyone very much so thinking, like, okay, can I be impartial to this? Like, this is a very important case and isn't something to be. I mean, we are providing levity to all of this because it's just like a caricature of a caricature. But
Right.
Yeah, there was an overwhelming feeling of that, I think, throughout. And, there were 100 people in that room and 50 left immediately with me. So,
But you knew that you couldn't be impartial. And so you
yeah,
removed yourself, but you felt like everybody in your jury pool was taking this seriously and
absolutely.
arriving at the severity of the moment. So the 50 people that left with you, did any of them have anything to say? I mean, were they just like, fuck him, there's no way I could be impartial? Because, I mean, this man is not popular in his home state at all.
Yeah. I actually, it's funny enough, it's so funny doing jury duty in New York and who you're in there with. Like, there's a girl that I follow on YouTube that was in there with me, and I was like, oh my God, I love your YouTube channel, and like this or that. We became buddies. But she made a post that was, I'll send it to you, pretty beautiful about like the seriousness of this and how like she's been personally affected by this and her husband being deported back to France during COVID and this or that. So that was kind of her decision making. She spoke to it a lot more beautifully than I am now. But so seeing things like that and like how he has directly impacted certain people's lives was a very interesting thing to talk to people about.
Okay, I know you said last question, but I've just got two more I have to ask.
All right, you go, Mima.
Okay, any smells? Did you smell anything, or did you notice any sleeping?
No, neither. I wish I could say so. I wasn't close enough to him to really smell. I mean, I'm sure if I got close enough, that like soggy spray tan and meat sweat smell would have gotten to me, but no, I didn't have any smells.
One thing that I've been interested in that nobody has said is when I have a case and I sit with my client, there is a relationship there and there's some warmth there. Whether I hate their guts or not, we've been through a lot, we've prepared, we have, some camaraderie. Did you notice any type of camaraderie or warmness between Trump and his attorneys?
It was pretty damn neutral, except for some frustrations, like when he wouldn't stand up. Like when they said the case of the state of New York versus Donald J. Trump and he's shaking his head, or when they say falsified business records and he goes like this, like all of those things happened. And I could tell that he was peeved. Otherwise neutral, I would not say anything in the warm direction. Objectively, I think all of the jurors felt a lot of warmth from the prosecution, especially the way that they introduced themselves. But yeah, it was neutral to cold and annoyed.
So he's making hand gestures and shaking his head and just acting like a petulant child, it sounds like.
Yes, absolutely. There are certain things that the judge is saying that is really peeving him.
And he's reacting to these things. He's throwing his arms up and sighing and being a big titty baby.
Absolutely. And this was just in jury selection. Like I wasn't at the Super Bowl yet.
Well, I want to say I've been called to jury duty as well before, and I have excused myself because I didn't think that I could be. I had to, state why I couldn't be impartial and whatnot. So how wild that you got
Totally
called. I think it's cool. I'm proud of you for removing yourself. And I mean, gosh, I will let you know that I know what is going on with that trial up to the minute because of my friend here.
Right.
Yeah, I will say post being involved, I'm like following that shit. Like,
Oh, yeah.
It's so good.
Well, William, thank you so much for joining IHIP News. This was fabulous. And I will play right now the Instagram story that William posted before he marched into the courthouse, excused himself, snapped his head, and sashayed out the courtroom. You are absolute inspiration to us all. A great American and a great patriot. thank you for coming on, William.
Thanks, William. It was great
Thank you for having me. I love you ladies. You guys are the best.